In times of uncertainty, the well-being of your loved ones becomes your top priority.
Days of heavy rains across the southern state of Rio Grande do Sul, triggering massive floods.
Mandatory evacuations are in place in areas around Houston, Texas, as a major river there quickly rises.
And when the world feels unpredictable, MonkeyWorksPrep.com is here to help you secure peace of mind. Through our affiliate program with My Patriot Supply, MonkeyWorksPrep.com provides you with the supplies to prepare for any situation. From long-term food supplies to smaller prepping kits, you will have everything you need to take care of your family. Because knowing you're prepared is more than just planning. It's about spending time without worry, knowing your loved ones are taken care of. Visit MonkeyWorksPrep.com today.
All right. Hey, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Monkey here. It's going to be your Sitrep. It's 7/18/2024, coming to you live here from the Monkey Lounge in the great state of Texas. So we got a lot of stuff to cover. We're just going to look at just an abundance of things today. We'll talk a little bit more about the old Flashbang and his mental state or his health issue. Yeah, we know he just popped positive supposedly yesterday for COVID, and then he canceled his afternoon, and then he's back headed to this beach house. So what was behind it, I don't know, but I will say this. When they showed him going up the lower steps on the Air Force One aircraft, you have to, he is so frail. I mean, watching him go up those steps, they just need to put one of those little lifts in, just take him right up because he is struggling just to get up the stairs. Anyway, sad sight to see, but let's see what he does. We got some topics to talk about. Let's get over here to Skyglass first and foremost. We've got fighters on the move, and I'm seeing a lot of it, and it's continued on. I think they're just getting everything pre-positioned for going to war. We're watching countries come in and beefing up their orders for F-35s like Italy, et cetera. When they do that, it's because they know they're going to have to backfill based on attrition more than likely. So we'll watch that. But on the screen here behind me, what you're seeing, these are the air refuelers that are currently up. I've got 35 on screen. That's a pretty elevated number. Again, a big indicator. We got fighters up, okay? And so when you see them out here working these points, East Coast is always, they are protecting DC and Flashbang and that whole deep state regime up here for the most part. You got one little one close by. These can service a lot of fighters. That's near where the RNC is going on, but for the most part, they've got zero top cover at the RNC from what I can tell, okay? Now, let me take away the air refuelers. Give me a total number of 241. I've already stripped out all the trainers. We go over here to H-60 Blackhawks. And again, what you would hope to see would be, some type of Homeland Security or something around this area. I got nothing. Absolutely zero. This is more than likely all training. Washington, D.C. area is always pretty packed. And then along the border, that's going to be U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So there's that aspect. Now, let's take away the H-60s. 35, which is a pretty elevated number. But again, most of those are going to be down there in the Panhandle. Let me see what else catches my eye. Well, let's see. H-47 Chinooks, those are mostly, and this area right here has been really pumping out a lot of flights. You'll see. In fact, let's just go look at the H-47s over the last 3 days. And you can see that little flurry of activity. Let me kind of zoom in a little bit. It's slightly elevated. We've got a lot of flights out of Biggs Army Airfield that just aren't showing up, which is kind of interesting, like wiping the traces or something. Stuff out of Fort Hood. But see this? That is a flurry of activity coming out of that location. Right now, remember, this is the banana copter. If you're not familiar with the H-47 Chinook, it is it's the twin blade that looks just like a flying banana. And England flies the daylights out of those. That's probably a mixture of U.S. and UK, but very active over there, always is. And then you can see little blips here and there into Europe and a little bit there in Turkey. So H-47s, all right? Now, let me take those away. I'm going to take us off of this for the most part. We're going to go to watch list and then go transition through all of the aircraft that are up, okay, that we watch. Again, Thunderbolt balloons, DOD, they all seem to be hanging out. I did get some alert showing one that was in hangar. So it looks like they're bringing them in, maybe doing some quick maintenance. They'll get them back out. We'll see them leave. These two right here, R135s. That one pay attention to because that is the combat scent. That's electronic intelligence. It's definitely within range to be grabbing stuff out of RNC. But that one right there, as they look like we got two of them deploying out to the East Coast, they grab things like radar intelligence, encryption stuff, anything that's being transmitted encrypted wise, they're grabbing that. And then they do battle order. So like they basically identify targets on ground and prioritize them. Okay. So, but you can see we've got, it looks like Jenna, that's going to be the FBI DOJ headed south. We had some intel birds up. A lot of these, what we see on screen, are air refuelers. Look at this Q4, right? Now, that one we're going to look at closer because it's been very active to the north as of lately, up near Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, clearly looking into Belarus. A lot of E3 Sentry stuff. Remember, those are advanced warning. We'll look at those again in just a minute. And then it looks like Turkey's got a drone that has got an emergency issue going on. So that thing is squawking emergency, whatever that may be. But okay, now let's talk ISR, intel, surveillance, reconnaissance. Do you see this grid that's going around that large area over the west side all the way up to our southern border? That is, maybe it's filling in. This is an unusual pattern. We've been seeing it since all of the intel balloons came together. So those are probably offline, but you see this one kind of bouncing into Buffalo area. That comes into play here in just a second. We'll talk about that. Nothing around the RNC, which speaks volumes, right? They don't care about the RNC. All right. Now, watch this. You can see, as usual, around Kaliningrad down to Moldova, looking at Crimea. That's just regular traffic. And then Israel showing back up on radar again. They weren't for a little while, but it looks like they're now gathering more data for targets as they head into the weekend. And then South Korea. Right. Now, let's talk drones. You can see a little bit of intel stuff there down in Malaysia, nothing in Australia. Let's talk drones for a minute. Q4 up over Japan. We see a lot of drone activity over Japan. So that's really nothing new either. And then, of course, this one, this Q4 has come out of Malta, headed north. This is a new activity, and you can see also looking down south, but kind of running that grid just all the way from the south all the way to the north in terms of Europe. But again, Q4, that changes things a little bit because that's more specific military application, probably gathering, all kinds of intel. It's amazing what these aircraft can do. But the interesting one is see these coming out. The Dayton thing, we know they're based out of that location. They did move them. So that's not unusual, but it is going straight across. That's gathering. It's not just a blank transition flight, I would imagine. Corkscrews all the way up over the Chesapeake area. All right. Those things can stay aloft for 14, 18 hours, depending on the aircraft type. But you can see clearly off the East Coast, and then a flurry of activity out of the southern side of California up into kind of that the area where we see all of the intel flights kind of coalescing around it, right? So, and then this right here at our southern border, that's tongue-in-cheek, by the way, folks. I know that's the northern border, but the southern border doesn't exist, so we just go with that, okay? All right. Now, let's talk, as we looked at drones, let's go R135. And this part is interesting because this one is the missile telemetry one. All right. See that bouncing out there to Southern California. And then we see just a little blip of one that pumps out of Okinawa. Again, missile reentry, telemetry, gathering that kind of data. Now we look at SIG intel from the R135. These things are tracking everything from cellular data to encrypted comms to just a bunch of different things. Basically anything that's the object the size of a soccer ball from 300 miles away. You've heard me say that. Then over the Gulf of Oman, you see a little blip and then it goes dark because they don't want you knowing where they're going. Okay, and then let's go out here to Asia. I don't see anything coming out of Okinawa. I was kind of expecting to see some from the SIG-Intel side, but then the United States, notice it runs right up the East Coast over where Flashbang's Beach House, Washington, D.C., and then, of course, that box. That tells you what they're looking at. Again, you couple this with the Intel flights that are headed out that direction, and it does paint a story, right? Okay, now that's the Intel. Now let's talk sniffers for a minute. This is going to be your nuke, okay? That's this one right here. And just note, little blip there out of Lincoln, Nebraska, heads down south towards New Orleans, right? Again, this is a nuke sniffer. Then you get over here to this side, and just note, down to southern side of, past Caracas down to South America. But that tells you that the Russians have moved from Cuba down south. That's probably why we're there. That's when they showed up. Very likely that the Russians have put or are putting some type of nuclear assets down there in South America. So if that is the case, that thus we've got the nuke sniffer that's operating out of Caracas. All right. So, okay. E6, TACAMO, take charge, move out. This is a command, airborne command, talking to your nukes on your subs. This just, again, it reiterates the fact that we've got submarines, nuclear submarines, in the Gulf of Mexico, off the left coast and off the east coast. All right. And they are loitering in those areas. So it's not like they're dispatching them, they're leaving. We got them hanging out for a reason, right? That's a defense mechanism there. Okay, let's talk AWACS. Advanced warning, right? Australia, kind of the norm. We see that down in that area. It's actually lighter than we usually see. And then over France and the Northern Europe side of the house, again, E3 Sentry. You can see this one, though, right? Running a little route there, kind of out over between, I guess, North Texas, actually West Texas, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. That's a little concerning, honestly. But see, again, that same area, right? You got an advanced warning aircraft that's looking at the same area that we see the SIG-Intel doing at the intelligence, recon, surveillance. I don't know what's going on up there in the Montana, Wyoming side of the house, but they're clearly got eyes on something that is probably as concerning as we see any other in terms of the tempo over in Europe. So there's something going on up here in this neck of the woods that they are watching on a daily basis, right? Okay, now let's, we talk AWACS. Let's talk, since we went into the R135, we talked sniffers for a minute. One of the things I did want to point out was this sniffer right here. Okay, again, we have seen reports in the past. This is a Sensor Aircraft. It's a third-party company called Sensor Aircraft LLC. It's a live flight as we speak over Buffalo. Now, this is the U.S. border right here. The fact that they got some type of a nuke sniffer working this border area tells you that they are concerned, or they've got some intel that somebody may be trying to get across the border here near Buffalo with a nuke. Okay. But that, again, it's just a data point for you. We saw in the past the news reports that they were working on, looking for some type of remnants from the Manhattan Project or something along those lines. Don't necessarily buy that, didn't buy it then, especially given the fact that they are back and the fact that they are literally flying along the waterway on the border here. Okay. Think Club Ks too. Quite possible. Of course, these are closed bodies of water, but still, if you get them in here, you can put them out there and float them. So, okay, that is a data point for you. Now, the other piece too, let me do this. I want to show you the air refuelers, all right, and their activity, because this is an indicator that we've got a lot of fighters on the move. Even in Australia, do you notice how they're going from East Coast of Australia up to the tip and the point there? It looks like they're pre-positioning some things for that region. And then look at Europe at all the marshalling points, right? You see that? That's because every single day we got combat air patrol up, right? Even over Constanta, all the way down into Turkey and into the Middle East. Now, we'll look closer here in just a minute. I'm going to show you a map of the Middle East and why I think we're seeing a lot of broken traces and a lot of transitional moves. You see these long lines going across the Atlantic? That's typically taking fighters across. So I do believe we've got a lot of squadrons being deployed right now. We've seen them talk about it into Alaska. We've seen it into Asia, into Japan, the upgrades. But into Europe, I think we are getting the F-16s over for Ukraine probably, and a bunch of other things, okay? All right, that's your air refuelers. Now, let me go back to Mini, because I want to show you something. When we talk about, actually, before I do that, let me show you C-17s, because this is going to feed into this map. All right, these are long-haul transports, all right? Australia, again, moving a lot of stuff to the north. You can see Japan's got some broken traces, things in and out of Philippines. Then we get over here to Europe and into the Middle East. See how thick the trace is into Ramstein, and then look at the thickness of the traces leaving Ramstein, where they just disappear over Turkey at altitude. That's a lot of traces. That's a lot of flights into the Middle East, all right? Right there into that region. Now, why does that become important? Let me hit pause. All right, I want to go back over here to this map, okay? And I want you to see, this is as of this month. It's fresh data. We looked at it last time. It was July of 2023. These are the flags of the people that are, or the countries that are embedded into Syria, okay? The important piece is when you get over here into Damascus, and I know this is a bit of an eye chart, but this Damascus area is covered up in Iranian flags, and that means they've got Iranian sites in here and Russian sites, right? And then notice you see the big transition right up against the border. Who is at the border there? That's Russia, all right? Now, why does that become important? Because you start talking about the three flags that we see in here outside the United States, which is going to be Turkey, Russia, and Iran. You've got a trilateral agreement with them, but remember, those are the very key players that are in Gog Magog, okay? And so the fact that they are starting to push all into this area, and I would imagine if we had a map of Lebanon, we'd see even more Iranian flags in here. That is just to the north of Israel. That would be probably right along the lines of Ezekiel 38, okay? Okay, now you can see where the U.S. forces are in here. This is why I think we see all the broken traces. This is why we see a lot of broken traces. You don't hear them talking a lot about deployments into the Middle East because everybody thinks, oh, well, you know, we left Afghanistan. We don't really have a lot of stuff into Iraq, et cetera. But I will tell you, we've been building that up quietly. When you see the trains and you see all of the equipment going across the United States on trains, and you notice it's all desert tan, it's because it's all going here, right? And so I've heard them say, oh, it's just rotation. They're just refreshing what is out there. Maybe some of it, but I will say, too, we are building up tremendously into the Middle East, okay? Okay, let me see. We got the watch list we talked about. Let me show you the gray birds. And the reason I show you these are they'll be the Phoenix Airs. They are agency assets being moved around. When I say agency, I'm talking about your CIA, et cetera, okay? So we'll get back over here to this. We're going to look at the gray birds. And I just want to point out, notice if you're out there, our Ohana monkeys, you got the agency boys out there in Hawaii yet again. That location, you see it running out of the Sacramento. That's Beale Air Force Base. That's CIA runs out of Beale Air Force Base, folks. They run the U-2s, et cetera, out of that. Okay, then notice down into Georgia. Yeah, out of D.C. and then up into Canada. All right. Okay, again, that is going to be your agency boys. We just keep our finger on the pulse with them to see where they're headed, because as you start to see things happen around the world geopolitically, you can kind of, put two and two together pretty quickly, okay? Okay, now let's talk for a second here. We're going to talk weather mod. If you haven't done so, I've got new blogs that come out on my website. Go over to monkeyworksus.com. The latest one is called Operation Popeye. It has to do with Vietnam, and it has to do with us cloud seeding. It's a pretty good little write-up. I found some really interesting data, and I just wanted to pull it together so you can see that there are a lot of things that'll ring bells with current day, okay, as you get into this Operation Popeye. The other thing, too, I've got another blog here because as I got into that aspect, I found another one about Operation Ranch Hand. Not familiar with that? Go in and read this. This is a very good blog relative to not just the cloud seeding technology, but this is where we actually went in and Agent Orange, Agent Blue, Agent all the different stuff that we sprayed across their dense jungles to basically kill off vegetation so we could actually see what they were doing. But unfortunately, we had soldiers down in here. And yeah, that Agent Orange, you've heard the guys from Vietnam that got mixed up in that and they didn't live long. So, and we got a couple other things like this. There's a lot of really cool blogs that as I've been doing the research on the things around JFK, et cetera, I keep stumbling upon all of these different operations. And so you can get in here and you can find all kinds of really cool blogs. And I've done a lot. So jump in there. Again, it's just click on the blog tag over here on MonkeyWorks website. Okay, so let's talk for just a quick second weather mod, right? We see this with Operation Popeye. This is just further confirmation, as you can see here. They're still doing it. This is cloud seeding operations. It's, in fact, either SOAR or Weather Modification LLC, Dalton, West Texas, et cetera. They go up, they cloud seed to get a lot of rain and a lot of big hail, et cetera. Note the one that just goes over the middle of the United States, right? And then you can see, too, the stuff that's happening out over the Dakotas, et cetera. Right? That's just the last 3 days, by the way, folks. But I just wanted to show you. Still in full swing. And nothing's changed since Vietnam. And in fact, some of this stuff, there are things with the UN that have basically made it illegal to weaponize this stuff. And they still continue to do it. So the UN's not holding anybody accountable, probably because they're behind it with the rest of these people. Okay, let's look at this for a minute. Muslim countries continue to refuse Palestinian refugees. All right. This is because they don't want them coming there. They want them coming here. Now, let's go look at the Omni flights. And I've shown you in the past, all the way up to the last Sitrep, in fact, that we continue to put them on C-17s, military hops, charters, all kinds of things. And we're bringing them to the United States in droves, okay? Now, this, let me just show you, in fact. This is going to be Omni and a couple of the others all mixed into the conglomerate. But just note the amount of flights, right? Most of their charter, most of their business is DoD related, but it's also Homeland Security and immigration, et cetera. I think they're bringing a lot of them out to Hawaii. But notice the flights in and out, again, out of Central America, okay, down into South America, in and out of Haiti. Okay, look how thick the traces are, right? That's a lot of flights. This is 3 days worth of flights, folks. 3 days. Now, yes, they serve many masters, so some of this will be indeed tied to soldier or troop movement, but there's a lot of immigrant stuff in here too. Now, this piece, when we get over here to the Europe, notice Spain's pretty active. Italy's very active. This is moving troops in. This one right here down to Istanbul, that location will become very critical when it comes to us fighting with Russia because they'll shut down that pinch point and all the flow of goods to southern Russia through the Black Sea. It will be done. And then, of course, you can see some really odd broken traces coming out of Malaysia. Where are they going? I don't know. Out there somewhere. All right. Okay. Back to the Mini, that's going to just kind of tie into what we're looking at right here, and that is the fact that they are bringing them in. We know Fort Dix still brings in 2,000 Afghanis a month into Fort Dix, okay, to their welcome center. All right, let's look at the man behind all of that, and that's going to be Flashbang. And notice yesterday he canceled his afternoon. It was interesting because the timing of the flights that they showed where he was supposedly getting onto Air Force One to come back was the same time that this stuff was going on at the RNC. It was just basically pre-recorded and then shown later. Why they did that, I don't know, but they acted like it was, real time. He left way earlier than what they want to indicate here. Okay. So anyway, let's, it looks like he's headed to the beach house as always. Now let's go into some of the things that we are starting to hear. So here we go. Flashbang says he would reevaluate campaign if doctors flagged a medical issue. Where have we heard that before? Well, let me take you to this. I want you to listen to this soundbite. It was from him talking on CNN before he became president. This was back in 2020. Listen to what he has to say here, all right?
There's a fundamental disagreement.
Let me back that up. Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
And I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign. We don't have that. We haven't, and we discussed it. And
Did you catch that? 2020, folks. If we have some type of fundamental disagreement, I will say I have a health issue and we will resign. All right. So I think they're still sticking to the plan. I think he may have dug his heels in a little bit to try and drag his feet to think that he's still got a shot at this. But there are calls by the day and it just continues to increase. All of his donors are drying up. They've already talked about that. So he's got some pretty big issues on his hand, but continue to watch that. This is a data point for you. I do think we will see him forced to resign, but they've got a very limited window to act between now and September to get him removed, and see what happens. All right, look at this exclusive GOP representative Cloud. Homeland Security Agency is interfering with the House's assassination investigation. What? That's strange. Just like we saw with JFK and Oswald, they will basically circle the wagons. They'll cover their tracks. They'll drag their heels. They'll do everything they can. But when it comes time to actually speak, these two clowns will more than likely take the fifth, or they'll perjure themselves because they're made of Teflon and nothing will happen to them. So, the fact they're dragging their heels tells you that there was something to what we saw. Okay. All right. Let's get rid of that. Okay, here we go. Look at this. International Bird Flu Summit to take place in D.C. on October 2nd through the 4th. This conference is called to discuss mass fatality management planning. Here we go. So don't know what is behind all of this, but we've already seen them do things like this event 201 in the past, whatever it may be. I have mentioned to the followers here that probably about 6-8 months ago, you had the feds, the FBI actually coming into hospital systems doing mass fatality management planning as well. Although it wasn't tied to any type of bird flu, it was tied to radiation exposure. Let that sink in. And you see, while we watch all the nuke activity and the AWACS activity and all the sniffer stuff, there's something to all of this, okay? They know, right? All right, check us out. China has basically said that they've halted nuclear arms talks with the U.S. over Taiwan weapon sales. So they've backed away from the table. And shouldn't be a shocker. Russia's done the same thing. And now two of our biggest foes are no longer talking to us. We are headed at breakneck speed into a nuclear conflict. Will it happen in Europe and over in the Middle East? Probably not. Will it happen here? Maybe China? Possibly. The U.S. is the one that I would worry more about just because we're fully exposed. And we pushed all of our gravity stuff into Eastern Europe. And so we don't really have a lot here to defend ourselves either. So not that we would use gravity here in the U.S., but if you needed to deploy them elsewhere, you're toast because you'd have to go pick them up right? So, all right, here we go. This is the NOTAMs for today, and big just takeaways here. You got the RNC going on. You got flashbang at his beach house. But just notice, this is his beach house. This is DC, right? Do you note where the danger boxes are located off the East Coast? Okay. Reason for that is because they know that if something goes hot, that's the area that's going to get popped off almost right out of the gate. All right. And then, of course, down here, my Ohana monkeys, again, you got agency boys rolling into your location, and you got a lot of exercise boxes happening out here at the moment. All right. Let's move on. Okay, Biggs Army Airfield, the only takeaway I have from all of this is not anything in terms of immigration, etc. I just want to show you the amount of helo activity in and out of this base and just today, right? I mean, take a gander. These are Chinooks, okay? All right, different tail numbers. These two are the same. And these are H-60 Blackhawks, right? Just look at the board. In and out. That's a lot. That's a lot of helo flights in that area. So there's an up tempo for a reason. These guys are getting a lot of stick time in out here. All right. Okay. You remember we talked about the Omni flights. We talked about the fact I had that really odd flight that came in from Africa into Haiti and then over here. I don't know what it's all about, but it went from Haiti into Fort Worth. Remember, I just showed not too long ago. In fact, let me go over here to the headline and let me hit the mute aspect on that. And then I want to give you the, that's not it. Maybe it's this one. I didn't it either. Oh, well, I thought I could find it and I cannot. So yeah, you got to love when that happens. All right, it was there. I guess I deleted it. Okay. Remember we talked about the fact that they just took 20,000 Haitians and put them in Ohio. Okay. Well, looks like they're moving them now out of Port-au-Prince into Fort Worth Alliance. That right there is more than likely offloading them here, and they will be on buses or whatever it may be into the Metroplex. Okay. All right. Pretty confident that's what's going on there. I don't think that's troops. Really don't. I mean, it could be, but I don't think so. All right. Over to Dover, and just notice you got a couple Atlas Airs, some C-17s. Ramstein is the destination. And so we'll move on from that over to the Brits. And this is going to be their mass transportation stuff. There are R-135s in here too. These little F-900s are smaller aircraft. That's probably as it heads into RZE. Poland, the other one headed into Jersey in the Channel Islands. But this is probably some type of dignitary if I had to guess. But you can see, and then obviously into Portsmouth, and it looks like they're headed down to maybe Nellis or Yuma. Okay, and then this, of course, is Ramstein. Just note the 747's coming in and the 747's going out. They're headed to the Middle East. That one's going to Doha, Kuwait, and then RZE Poland. Like I said, we're moving assets into that location pretty hot and heavy. All right, let's talk NATO for a minute in terms of the spend. Now, note this is the only time it's been decent was, look back here. They were a negative for those years. And then the Kenyan left, and then Trump came in. They had a little bit of a spike, 5.9% is the best they got. But look where they are today. You want to know, we going to war? Look at their spend, 17.9%. It's probably a couple of years worth just in 2024, all right? All right, look at this. This is a Russian drone, one of their cheap drones taking out one of our U.S.-made howitzers. And you can see the video here as I kind of go back in. Even if we play it, that's kamikaze drone. Took that thing right out. That equipment is very expensive. That drone is not. So just goes to show you the balance of what they can do with these drones at a very affordable, low rate against high dollar equipment. Okay, then we get over here, RZE, and I do see some Brits coming in. I see a couple camber flights from Ramstein, 747s. That one came in from Colorado Springs. More than likely, this is bringing, especially the Colorado Springs one, missile defense stuff. Okay, moving on. And this is going to be Constanta. The big thing here is just note the uptick in traffic. These Hayes 37s more than likely C-130s, and these Rs are going to be H-60s, right? So pretty active. We're seeing kind of an uptick in that area at that airport. And then last one here, just national cargo. They're kind of all over the place. Airbus here, Orlando to San Jose, California. And then, of course, you got out of Boston, and I don't even know where that's headed, across the drink somewhere. Nellis up to Anchorage. JFK over to Turkey. Or sorry, not Turkey. Seoul, Korea. All right. That's picking up. 747, that's going to be grabbing artillery more than likely. And then this one here headed over to Bangkok. All right. Okay. Why do I show those? Because most of those are going to be military for the most part, DoD stuff. Okay. All right, listen, folks, that's going to do it for Sitrep today. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. We'll see you over the weekend on Patreon. So if you're not a member over there, please join us. It's less than actually, in some cases, it's significantly less than a cup of coffee. And it's, if you just bought one coffee a month. So, pretty inexpensive. And you get a lot more content. We've got the Monkey Minute over there, and I've got my Under the Radar we show for things we didn't really talk about too much in my sit reps. So hope you join us. Other than that, stay frosty, keep that powder dry. God knows what the days ahead are going to bring in. So that's it. God bless. Monkey out.
In the heat of the moment, precision and excellence are paramount. It's a creed we live by, both in service and beyond. Our beans are sourced from the finest regions, roasted with perfection, and packed with care. Whether you prefer whole beans or ground coffee, Operator Espresso delivers a cup that's unmatched. Whether you're sharing stories with fellow veterans or gearing up for a demanding day, Operator Espresso is there to fuel your mission. Operator Espresso is more than just coffee. It's a tribute to excellence. Join us in our mission. Experience the difference. Taste the honor.